This is Ambazonia Calling. News, analysis, commentary, opinion, editorials. Ambazonia Calling is a co-production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. Welcome. My name is Ntumfoyn, Herbert, and I bring revolutionary greetings from our studios in Washington, D.C. to all of you, friends of Ambazonia and fellow Ambazonians on Ground Zero and across the globe.
Cameroon colonial officials and its military are at war over the resumption of schools in Ambazonia. Its military is busy stealing computers from the very schools. I am innocent here.
Counterfeit takumbanks littered all over the place, perhaps even sitting at any possible negotiation table, shouting, singing, "Woman, eh!" We cannot and must not let this happen. This is C. Ajimbo Ambe.
Women bring to this struggle everything that men lack: charm, beauty, intelligence, resilience, tenacity, staying power, wit, intuition, and attention to detail. This is Tanya Jude Agua Ozuge.
No one with his brain in the right place would dispute the fact that the Ambazonia restoration quest has hit some troubled waters. This is Manjang Jurambe.
Division and power mongering. This is leadership that Ambazonia is better off without. This is the monk.
Barrister Agwon Kongo dribbles even his own brain by failing to recognize that language is one of the vehicles of culture. This is Willibrod Ade.
Nominees and winners for the crown of shame were all caught red-handed. This is Veronique Betimfe.
School will be very difficult without ceasefire. We need a ceasefire. So government's job is to move towards the separatists and begin negotiation for a ceasefire.
Kabanwala Edith is the national president of the Cameroon People's Party.
Win na batting. For sika small win way pass, we don't start see waiting hide under fire backside. This one na Manjang Jurambe.
We are going to that negotiating table with one agenda. We are going there to have our independence and to talk about terms of separation. My name is Barrister Fru Johnson.
This is edition number 059 of Ambazonia Calling, coming to you this 11th day of August, 2019.
Oh, freedom, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, our freedom.
Do not forget, we've got that new segment that's coming up, Big Mob Corner. Jakri Day, Big Mob Day, Tory Long, na time short. It has been another tragic week in Ambazonia, with La République du Cameroun pursuing its genocidal violence against the peaceful people of Ambazonia.
Today is the 11th day of August 2019. This is civilian has just been shot in cold blood by the French Cameroon military. They invaded Mautu today at 3 a.m. in the morning. All the civilians fled into the bushes. It happened at Moyoka. Mautu is a small village in the outskirts of Moyoka. And this guy was taken out of his house and shot point blank by French Cameroon military this morning. He's a father of 4 kids. This is how he was removed out of his house and shot. He was taken away with his family and shot in front of his children and killed by French Cameroon military in Ambazonia. And the children and the wife have been taken away by the military. We don't know their whereabouts. There will be no school resumption. When the UN, Human Rights, Amnesty International, all international community should see genocide still going on in Ambazonia. This is another corpse that has just been discovered. This is a lady that has just been shot close range by the French Cameroon military. They invaded the village at 3 a.m. in the morning. All the civilians, they fled. They ran for their dear life. This woman was shot point blank by French Cameroon military. Was killed today. The military have killed 3 civilians, shot dead today in Mautu village. This woman is a married woman with children. The military came in the village today and invaded the village and shot her to death. Today, the 11th day of August 2019. It's happening at Mautu village, a village at the outskirts of Moyoka, Southern Zone, FAKO County in Ambazonia. This is how civilians are being killed. Civilians are being killed by the French Cameroon military. So please, we are letting the international community to know, to see what is happening in Ambazonia, how genocide is being committed on a daily basis. The military is keeping killing Ambazonians in cold blood, while the international community is watching. This is the husband of the woman that was killed. This is the husband crying his wife that was shot by the military today.
Village after village across Ambazonia, this is what the occupation forces of colonial Cameroon are doing to the civilians.
What Cameroon has done to us, I want you never to forget. The pain they have brought to bear on this generation, I want you never to forget. Not out of hate, but so that the next generation will remember and make sure they do the things they are supposed to do, never to go through this again.
I will continue to play my part to ask the people of Southern Cameroon to take their revolution into their hands and continue the fight to liberate themselves.
I'm sorry to say, because of France's policies in Africa, in French Africa, the state of La République du Cameroun do not have any pressure on them to find a way to resolve this issue, because they are always thinking that no matter what happens, France will always be there to give them coverage.
Still ahead in this edition, we have The Devil Unmasked with Professor Emmanuel Tatamenta. We have a winner of the Nyamfuka of the Week. And we are not done until you have heard our letter to Joshua. So stay tuned, kick back, relax, and enjoy Ambazonia Calling. There are weeks like this when the many questions you have are also the only answers you've got. That is the kind of tight corner in which Barrister Manjong Jutambe found himself as he put together our editorial for the week.
No one with his brain in the right place would dispute the fact that the Ambazonia restoration quest has hit some troubled waters. So, asking questions at this juncture cannot be out of order. How exactly are you, as an individual, as a citizen of Ambazonia, responsible for the current state of affairs? If you are not responsible for anything, what have you or are you doing to bring normalcy to the revolution? Don't just blame others. If you are not doing anything, who are you waiting for? Are we not the ones we've been waiting for? Whatever we've done so far in an attempt to return Ambazonia to international sovereignty is not good enough. A spirited self-defense campaign has not done it. Peaceful campaigns have not. Diplomacy hasn't. Evoking a legal case has not even been seriously considered, let alone pursued. As a result, Ambazonians have won as many battles as they have probably lost. Without new thoughts, a new guide to the revolution, and a new action plan, our wheels could be spinning on the same spot for a little while more. This is the time when we must revert to the wisdom of Albert Einstein. The renowned physicist argued that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Ambazonia needs a fundamental shift in mentality and in action. We need to find the next big thing. Negotiations that bring Ambazonia into a one-on-one deliberation with the colonial regime of Mr. Paul Biya levels the playing field and set the stage for Ambazonians to find a lasting solution. Yet, this generation of Amba leaders are acting much like they were reliving the 1960s. After signing up to the Swiss-led process for negotiations, no one is telling Ambazonians what next. Those who have rubbished the Swiss-led process cannot say what is next either. That would qualify as groping in the dark. Each of us must step back and ask What is next? No one is coming on a white horse to save Ambazonia. This is a fact we must accept, and the sooner the better. Self-pity, constant bickering, and perpetual online castigation only advances the enemy's agenda. A lot needs to and is beginning to be done. For example, what are Ambazonians, notably in the diaspora, doing to influence the next General Assembly of the United Nations next September? How can Ambazonians this year, even better than in 2017, tell the world gathering in New York next month that there is no such thing as a one and indivisible Cameroon? How can Ambazonians commemorate the celebrations of 22nd September 2017? We are sabotaging the revolution if we cannot find the courage to denounce the nonsense going on right now. We will negotiate at some point or the other. So the question is, why not now? Is it too early? How many thousands of Ambazonians must die before we accept the fact that it is time for negotiations? When are groups like the Southern Cameroon's Liberation Council and the Ambazonia Recognition and Collaborative Council going to talk frankly of the revolution, not just about their own preservation? Comrade Siseko Ayutabe and Sako Ikome both know that the existence of their parallel structures is a mess this revolution does not need. To begin, none of them has any more legitimacy than the other. Our self-defenders on ground zero must demonstrate that their goal is to protect our people, not to make their already horrible and deplorable situation worse. They must grant unfettered access to our people by independent humanitarian and aid organizations. Whatever you wish for Ambazonia, the time to act is now. Let the astute fundraisers mobilize funding. Let the consummate diplomats show us what they've got. The legal luminaries must get to work. Every Ambazonian must do their part. Do not accept the stupid power mongering that continues to shoot this revolution in the foot. This is Manjang Judambe for Ambazonia Calling.
If you have been looking to buy a home in the Silver Spring, Maryland area here in the United States of America, you are in luck. If you are pre-qualified for a mortgage, if you are ready to buy right now, please contact us. Write to ambercalling@yahoo.com. You could be in a home with little to no down payment. Right now, contact us. Write to ambercalling@yahoo.com. Innocent here has got the first part of our news wrap-up for the week.
In 3 weeks' time, schools will start for Widikum subdivision.
The government of Cameroon has activated Code Red as desperate paramilitary officers, including a 5-star commissioner in Widikum, are deploying to market squares to do whatever it takes, begging and threatening if they must, to make sure that schools resume in Ambazonia.
May any man prepare to go for school. Now the official message that way, they say me I tell the population, and I don't discover say now only for market where I feel send out that information. Any person will go open his mouth talk say school no day. Say you know the send is for school. Then a different thing the final.
Inspite the heavy military presence, the video clearly captures a population that is indifferent to the threats.
So September in the camp, everybody, people want to come over Eka, people want to come over Menkaka, Ambele, may they take this message back to every person.
Having to live with the daily ordeal of state terrorism and genocidal acts against its sons, brothers, husbands, and fathers.
There must be a process which is agreed upon as to how these children are going to be inserted back into school.
Right.
Only the government and the teachers can discuss that together.
Kabangwala Edith is the national president of the Cameroon People's Party.
And finally, Mr. Babila, is that we all know that schools have been burned down, that schools have been destroyed in many parts of the Northwest and Southwest region. A very good gesture by government would have been for us to see some of those schools being rehabilitated. Then we will know that government is carrying out actions for back to school. not singing on the television. This doesn't make any sense to us.
La République du Cameroon terrorist soldiers have stolen computers from the school lab at the government bilingual high school in Bali, MEZAM state. Sources say as many as 30 computers were carted away by a group of 10 soldiers who surrendered the school guard, broke into the computer lab and made away with the computers. The incident comes against the backdrop of La République du Cameroon's supposed efforts to ramp up their back-to-school campaign in Ambazonia.
We need a ceasefire. So government's job is to carry out the actions. That means move towards the separatists. Move towards the separatists and begin negotiation for a ceasefire. That is their number one job. Number two, this crisis started because government left the teachers' unions at the table, arrested their leaders, and created a crisis. If government is serious about back to school, go back to the table with the teachers' unions.
Reverend Father Eugene Kadzidze of the Bamenda Catholic University, Katuk, is back home and in high spirits following his kidnapping Wednesday, August 7th by Atangananji fake Amber boys. In a social media posting Friday, Father Eugene Kadzidze shared the following with his social media world about his kidnappers. Quote, "Looks like someone is feeding them on priest now. Awaka for Poto go their camp from where the bike could not go further. Thank God I made it back same day after paying some hundreds of francs. They wanted my car, a gun, and 1 million. End quote. Credible sources are confirming that La République du Cameroon's colonial governor to Ambazonia's northern zone, Lele Lafrique, escaped death by the skin of his teeth Wednesday following an ambush of his convoy in Fundong, BOYO state.
That very place where they call and that very name so bang a bad for day now. As when I feel the talk on the year or they should know. Yes, any man joy the pray a bat.
Independent sources are yet to confirm whether 10 terrorist forces were shot and killed in the BSCRF ambush in BOYO, but it is reported that in spite making a U-turn and retreating to Bamenda, the colonial convoy suffered other setbacks following another ambush around Babanki by Amber boys.
See the boys and they wounded. See only boys.
Banta.
See only boys.
Great Kali.
Now, Boki John this. I'm say I tell na say today for instance Moyoka na I'm say Tibobos this boy come from Munyenge. Today na danger.
Wounded.
To the way them.
Oh man, they wounded.
This 10 points for Malindi camp.
Confirm. Oh man, they wounded.
10 points.
All are the biggest Grace Kali.
Wow. The son of General Popo.
Way.
The biggest point.
As soon as we hear the only Major General get on FAKO, all is caught in the wounded.
Sisiku Ayuk Tabe and his Nera 10 comrades have ended their hunger strike 10 days after embarking on the campaign to highlight abysmal conditions at the Kondange maximum concentration camp, including the killing of several Ambazonian detainees. In their August 10th statement issued by jailmate Barrister Elias Iyambe, the pro-independence leaders called for a suspension of the strike even as they prepare for another court appearance on August 19th. At the last hearing in the course of the week, lawyers to the accused stormed out of the session as the Kangaroo Military Court insisted to proceed with trial in spite of the ill health of several accused. The military judge ended up suspending the session after the leaders became rowdy in court and made it difficult to proceed with any hearings.
Another journalist is in detention. Samuel Wazizi of the CMTV media house in the southwest regional Chieftown is accused of collaborating with some separatist fighters and so on, hosting separatist fighters in his farm. These are, however, accusations which he has denied them. He says he has nothing to do with that, but he has been in detention at the Munya police station for several days now. Here he's been transferred to the special police arm in the town of Boya. Journalists have been calling for his immediate and unconditional release.
You are listening to Ambazonia Calling, your space for educated news analysis, informed opinions and commentary towards the recognition of a free, independent Ambazonia. I am Ntumfoyn. Stay with us.
What exactly did leaders of the SCLC tell the delegation of women from the so-called Northwest Southwest Women's Task Force who visited with them in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago? We bring you exclusively the statements that were delivered in preliminary by the leaders of the SCLC during that meeting. It is going to be in The Devil Unmasked later in this show. Innocent, please stick around. You've got the second part of our news wrap-up for the week.
Ambazonian activist and leader of the Southern Cameroon's Activist Forum, SCAF, Aaron Yangcho, has reported the burning of over 50 motorcycles belonging to Ambazonians in Yaoundé, capital of colonial Cameroon. According to the Facebook page feed, the charring was conducted at the Central Police Station in Yaoundé. Observers maintain that this is one more act in a continuum that Yaoundé has designed to asphyxiate the economic power of Ambazonian youths that are seen to be the power supply of the Ambazonian War of Independence.
It all happened that these people were all doing fine, and then after their meal, sometime late in the afternoon, and then sitting and watching TV, and very soon they started feeling bad. And what were the symptoms? They started going stiff arms, and the legs were getting stiff too, and of course they rushed to the hospital. On arriving the hospital, they were declared dead.
Ambazonians in Limbe, FAKO State, and across Ambazonia are still in shock and consternation following the confession by a 12-year-old that she fatally poisoned 3 family members, ages 66, 38, and 3 years, over an altercation.
And who were these first victims? There was Gladys Ebai, yes, 66 years old mother, and there was Sheila Ebai Bama, 38 years old. These were the first victims we received at the OPD at around 6:30 p.m. And later on now, not so, the doctor, when they heard about the story around food, that everybody was doing fine, he alerted that the rest of the family members should be brought to the hospital, and so for evaluation.
8 other family members are responding to treatment at the state hospital in Limbe. It is still not certain the exact poisonous concoction that she put into their fufu corn and vegetable, popularly known as njama. Colonial authorities are reportedly investigating the matter. Flash floods have reportedly left over 48 families homeless, destroying over 60 homes on their path early in the week in Bambesi, NGOKETUNJIA State. The devastated community, deprived of its young and brave men who have become an endangered species and are fighting to protect their people and land from colonial Cameroon, has seen the resilience of women who are stepping up to take care of their communities. Sporadic shooting was reported Tuesday 6th along the Munya-Boya corridor in FAKO State. Whereas no fatalities have been reported, residents around the Big Mob area say tens of people were randomly arrested by Biya genocide of colonial forces. In Bamenda, meantime, CNA also reported distress calls coming from Mayasikwen. Residents reportedly came under a deafening attack Tuesday morning. Finally, in foreign news, La République du Cameroon firebrand activist and renowned lawyer Michel Ndoki has been sentenced to 6 months in jail. The Court of First Instance in Douala Colonial Economic Capital issued the decision August 9th in the absence of Michel Ndoki, who sustained a gunshot injury to her thigh during demonstrations following the stolen victory of Maurice Kamto at the 2018 presidential elections in Cameroon. 40 other defenders charged similarly with rebellion, illegal meetings, and unauthorized demonstrations were equally served 6 months in jail. Neither Michel Ndoki, the other accused, or lawyers for the Cameroon Renaissance Party of Maurice Kamto were in court for the sentencings. I am Innocent Chia for Ambazonia Calling.
Ambazonia Calling. You are in the heart of the news shrine. Call us the Kalakuta Republic of commentary, opinion, and editorials. The National Executive Committee of the Social Democratic Front of Niger and Frundi met in Douala. They met Saturday. They issued a statement dated the 10th of August. Let me read from paragraph number 3. It is therefore incumbent on Mr. Biya, writes the SDF, not only to bring the civil war to an end, but also provide a definitive solution that will create an enabling environment for children to return to school in September 2019 and for elections to take place. Failure to which, continues the SDF shall be obliged to withhold its parliamentarians from attending the November 2019 session. If elections are convened and held under the present circumstances, the SDF will not participate, and this will tantamount to breaking the country into two. The position statement continues, the SDF calls on the CPDM senators, on CPDM members of the National Assembly, CPDM mayors and CPDM councillors of the Northwest and Southwest regions who have exhibited disturbing indifference and support to the oppressive government irrespective of the frustrations and atrocities inflicted on the Anglophone people, whom they purport to legitimately represent, to stop using the Anglophone problem for political ends. While we acknowledge, writes the SDF, the existence of the Anglophone problem, which has unfortunately pushed the Anglophone separatists to take up arms, we urge them to exercise restraint. The statement continues, the SDF reminds our Francophone brothers and, I think the left out sisters, our Francophone brothers and sisters that the Anglophone crisis is a national issue, which, if not well and urgently addressed, will lead to irretrievable separation of the country. Finally, the SDF vehemently condemns what it calls the irresponsible and incendiary narratives pouring from the diaspora that further exacerbates the situation. That's the statement from the SDF issued Saturday after their National Executive Committee met in Douala. Let me, with reference to that statement from the SDF, make just one comment before we move on. When a so-called national party like the SDF issues a statement in which it threatens that its withdrawal from Parliament, its refusal to participate in so-called national elections, will be tantamount to the separation of the country, the SDF is in effect admitting that it is an Ambazonian political party. Well, welcome SDF. It's late, but you're getting it. You're beginning to understand that you represent nobody unless you represent Ambazonia. Welcome back home. Why did it take you so long, SDF, to get to where our forebears got to in 1953? Come on now. The people of Ambazonia don't have all day.
This is the experience of Amba people when the flames of freedom fanned by truth light up the hearts of the children. There is a fire on the mountain, fire on the mountain. There is a fire on the mountain, fire on the mountain. Run, run, bring some water. Run, 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 run. Run, run, bring some...
Barrister Agbonkongo has been extremely faithful to federalism. He was at it again this week. Here's Wilbert Ade with a review of the latest interview.
Barrister Agbonkongo gave another interview this week to the South African Broadcasting Corporation.
And there are reports of gross abuses, murder, rape and villages being razed to the ground.
As on previous media appearances, he walked the fine line.
I'm a Cameroonian from the English-speaking part of the country.
Sticking to a lane he has speaked for himself since benefiting from the presidential magnanimity of Paul Biya by way of a decree that ordered his release from jail.
We were fighting against marginalization and suppression and oppression by the predominantly Francophone government.
Whatever the deal struck before he was released, Agbon Kongo has defended federalism unapologetically.
Have the tensions always been there?
Well, you know, the bilingualism, the bicultural and bijural nature of Cameroon could be a strength. If they harness the language, it would be an advantage.
In his latest interview, he refused to address the recolonization of Ambazonia.
These tensions that always existed. Anglophones have always tried to protest, to clamor for more rights, you know, to clamor for equality and to fight against injustice. And this is morphed now to an armed struggle. Currently, we have an armed struggle between separatists who are clamoring for a separate state and the government that wants to maintain the one and indivisibility of the country.
Even refusing to follow the prompting of the TV host. Instead, he claimed that the non-violent approach as adopted by the consortium of old would have delivered Anglophones, as he referred to our people in the interview, the results they wanted.
Yes, the consortium has always stood for a pacifist mode of finding a solution to the crisis. We never opted for violence. Until date, we still continue in advocacy on the grounds that we could use peaceful methods in finding a solution.
He never even broached the fact that Biya declared war on Ambazonians, which led to the current conflict, as our people were forced to defend themselves. The learned barrister showed that his divorce with Ambazonia is fully consummated.
It's true that some crimes also are being committed by the separatist movement. Nobody would think that they are angels, you know. But most of these atrocities are committed by government.
He would not even mention the colonial past or historical facts like the botched decolonization process or the two alternatives for the plebiscite that forced our forefathers to choose between joining Nigeria or La République du Cameroun as the root cause of the problem.
Historically, we believe that the way we are treated in the country, we are not treated as equals, you know. We are being marginalized. Our educational system is being trampled upon. Our legal system is, you know, we have the common law and the civil law. The common law is being eroded in favor of the civil law. So these are many problems. Anglophones believe that. Some believe that it's time for them to have a state on their own.
Even the TV station interviewing him showed more militancy through the text that was posted at the bottom of the screen during the interview. The text read, "Colonial legacy," even as Barrister Agbon Kongo refused to present the facts or detail the impact of that legacy on the people of Ambazonia.
It goes beyond positions. It's a cultural thing.
In fact, he twisted himself into a pretzel around the issues such that anybody who watched that interview would have walked away thinking that this is a purely internal Cameroonese matter.
But the problem is that it's mostly a Francophone-dominated government.
What a shame. For Barrister Agbon Kongo, the problem is still one of cultural, economic, and political marginalization.
It's not only about language, it's also cultural, historical. It's a combination of many things.
If you feel like laughing at his simplistic explanation of the root cause of this conflict, then please go ahead and laugh. It would have been funny were it not for the fact that thousands of Ambazonians have lost their lives in this war, and our homeland is fast becoming a wasteland as a result.
We have about 220 villages that have been completely burned. We came to the conclusion that these crimes amounted to crimes against humanity, and there was a need for the international community to open up a commission of inquiry so that they need to be accountability. Because you hardly see a conflict where about 220 villages have been burned. In international criminal law, this would fall in what we call terrorizing the civilian population.
No, this is alarming.
To show how discombobulated he is, he tells the world that the problem is not a linguistic one, yet he will not say exactly what it is, except mumble incoherencies and balderdash like, "It is not only a cultural problem, but more than a cultural problem." In the spin, Barrister Agbon Kongo dribbles even his own brain by failing to recognize that language is one of the vehicles of culture. How disgraceful. This is Willibrod Ade for Ambazonia Calling.
The cracks. Rastaman love me. Everybody love me.
The best lesson in life has been taught by the road sign which says keep right. And if I could keep right for other things, what about my motherland?
Thou shalt not speak ill of a fellow Ambazonian. Maybe Ambazonians can adopt such a mantra.
I grew up understanding that we should not doubt our beliefs, neither should we believe our doubts.
Let us stay a little longer on that interview by Agbobala with our analysis that shows exactly how much diplomacy he is doing on behalf of La République du Cameroun. For instance, he is opposed to the Swiss-led process.
The peace process was supposed to start in Switzerland.
According to him, it should have been the AU. He even regrets he's not a member of the AU Commission. He would have protested.
If I were in the AU, I would challenge the Swiss government that that process has to take place in the continent. The AU endorsed the process like 2 weeks ago. A lot has to be done by the AU.
For Agbobala, why should an African problem be solved anywhere else in the world?
Why would Cameroonians, Southern Cameroonians and the government meeting in Geneva, for example, why can they not meet in Johannesburg? Why can they not meet in Accra? Why can they not meet in Nairobi?
But he's traveling to Canada to talk to people and work with Canadian human rights organizations.
For the AU to be respected, they have to intervene, and it falls within the mandate of the AU.
Are you trying to get a voice?
Yes, we're trying to get a voice, and that's why we're doing advocacy. That's why I'm here. That's why we've been lobbying some parliamentarians from the continent for them to speak out. You know, we would be going to the Human Rights Council. We've been at the African Commission on Human and People's Rights.
Barrister Agbobala is fighting very hard to return the issues of Ambazonia to a club, to an African Union club, as corrupt as we know them to be.
We filed a petition at the Pan-African Parliament on the situation in Cameroon. But somehow, somebody in the parliament is trying to ensure that that petition doesn't see the light of day.
Barrister Agbobala may have forgotten this, but Southern Cameroon was before the court in Banjul in the Gambia and won a ruling there that has never been enforced. According to Mr. Bala, the main reason he's fighting is because of the victims out in the bush, the victims who are internally displaced, those in the refugee camps, those suffering.
You know, for the voices of those who are suffering, these women who are living in the bushes, these children who have been internally displaced, these refugees who are suffering in the camps in Nigeria, their voices have to be heard.
But listen to what he says when they ask him whether the world should worry about Cameroon.
Final question then. I mean, how worried should we be about this? Do you see the situation getting worse if there's not strong action from the EU?
We have to be worried because of the strategic location of Cameroon.
And the very best for the last, Barrister Agbonkongo says he thinks Africa does not need another South Sudan, a suggestion that Ambazonia would become another South Sudan.
And I don't think we need another Central African Republic in Africa. We don't need another Sierra Leone. We don't need another Liberia. We don't need another South Sudan.
Well, it would seem very clearly that Barrister Agbobala is like one of those federalists who believes that Ambazonians will fight this hard and die in so many thousands just for the federalists to come and harvest the victory. That's not happening.
If you go to Moyuka, nobody they live here. If you go to Munyenge, nobody they stay there. Everybody don't run away because of Wuru Wuru. But when we pray, revival will take place in Allah. Yeah, for sure.
The monk from Ibalikumato, Vetzekov himself, has got the counter to all of that Agbobala bashing. He says he's not all to blame. Ambazonians blame dying selves.
It is cheap to blame Agbonkongo. He has taken sides and is doing a good job of defending the one and indivisible Cameroon. Everybody knows that by now, or should know. Whatever blame Barrister Agbonkongo is made to take, it does not solve the humongous problem Ambazonians have. Let me put the question to you plainly. What have restorationists done except pull down and tear up their own? Does anyone remember when Barrister Harmony Bobga still played a similar role for the restoration of independence? Who has forgotten how Barrister Harmony Bobga was used for a few weeks to manage a transition until the rightful owners of power showed up, and then he was spat out? Did we not just see the same treatment meted out to a powerful voice like Barrister John Frunso, who does not think, as I do, that the very people he put his life on the line to defend have used him and have no qualms dumping him? This is what restorationists do. They eat up each other. They stumble over each other in the fight to be the leader of Ambazonia. They destroy everyone who looks like a potential rival on what they perceive as their rise to power over Ambazonia. So let no one blame federalists. The 1,000,001 divisions within restorationists have not been created by federalists. They are created by restorationists themselves. Look, I dare anyone to show us only one occasion ever since the beginning of this revolution when the so-called leaders of Ambazonia were truly working together. Just one occasion. There has been none. Not even in the case of Skakuf, which is when they came closest to working together. Dr. Cho Ayaba, Dr. Sako, Dr. Akwanga, Siseko Ayuktabi, Fon Goji Dinka, Pa Augustine Dangam, and others are not fighting each other because their opponents are federalists. They are fighting each other because they are too power hungry to work together. Each of these leaders and others, and I would like to add on, others like Elvis Kometa, John Ba, Kuro, Vivian Banwi, Catherine Formungam, Ntumfoyn, Herbert Bo, Edwin Gang, Mark Chebs, all of these leaders are, to varying degrees, hypocrites when it comes to their commitment to work together. Ambazonia is going nowhere unless this tomfoolery stops. Every one of these leaders cannot be allowed to continue to beat their chest and lay claim to some invisible throne. Ambazonians don't need leaders if this is all we have got by way of leaders. Someone has got to call it as it is, but what is there to hide? Fonkoju Dinka is unwilling to work with anyone unless they recognize him as the only government of the Republic of Ambazonia. For good measure, his movement is also the country itself. Dr. Sako, Chris Anu, and co. won't work with anyone unless they recognize the IG as the government of the people. Prior to Sako, Siseko Ayuktabi was the one who put the divisions on steroids, notably by packing the deck at Skakuf for his election and then expelling other liberation movements from the fold at Zaria, remember? By comparison, and that is where every restorationist should hold their heads in shame for tolerating this nonsensical power mongering for so long. By comparison, I was saying, you have never heard one federalist disqualify another federalist. Never. You've not heard one federalist claim to be the leader of the federalist revolution. Never. You've never heard one federalist say he was expelling others from the fold. Never. Even if federalists don't work together, they don't work against each other. The only success you can put under the belt of the current crop of Ambazonian leaders is division and power mongering. This is leadership that Ambazonia is better off without. It is leadership so disjointed and so self-destructive that it has managed to surrender the helm to activists run amok like Eric Tautau, who as a one-man Gary master can claim to be the real deal. This is the monk from Ibalikumato for Ambazonia Calling.
The question is not, should children go to school? The question should be, can children go to school? Can they go to school? The answer is no, because there is simply no security.
I'm taking a look at the clock here and it is running fast. We would have been better off putting all the segment that we did on Agbo Bala as the devil on mask. the segment that we prepared for you for this edition. We will play that for you next week.
It started like a joke and I smiled. From Meme to Momo, we said no violence. Now I know not how to smile, 'cause my loved ones are gone. There is no place to call home. Our homes have been burnt. I am homeless in my homeland. There is no place to call my home. Homeless, homeless, homeless in my homeland. When are we going to have a dialogue? We have buried more than enough. Nothing heals the past like time. When are we going to have a dialogue? We've been marginalized enough. You may fool some people sometime. You cannot fool them all the time. Homeless, homeless. I am homeless in my homeland.
To negotiate or not to negotiate, that is a question Ambazonians continue to ask themselves ever since a deal was signed for the Swiss government to put in place a process to engage La République and Ambazonia on a one-on-one negotiation without preconditions, with the international community observing, guaranteeing, and participating in the talks. Daniel Jude Agua Ozugen in the following analysis speaks to the issues of whether there is legitimacy in the leaders who engage, pointing to the example of Dr. Kevin Gumne and his action before the court in Banjul, and urges action even as others hesitate. Here's Daniel Jude Agua Ozugen.
If Father Christmas existed, Ambazonians will have a long list of wishes to present to him. Until last June, they demonstrated around the globe. They wrote and signed petitions. They lamented and prayed for the international community to get involved with resolving the genocide in Ambazonia. Be careful what you wish for, they say. Ambazonians got exactly what they have always been asking for towards the end of June in Geneva. The European Union, the United Nations, and more recently, the African Union have now said they will be at the negotiating table. The world's most powerful nations, the very ones we have lobbied the most for them to do something about the genocide in Ambazonia, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, amongst others, have signaled their intention to be at the negotiating table when La République faces off with Ambazonia. The Swiss-led process has the international community crying more than the bereaved right now. All of a sudden, some of the very leaders and liberation movements that made the loudest calls for actions from the international community are the very ones who essentially are saying we are not interested in a negotiated settlement. Let me be blunt. It is one of the silliest things to do to be against a negotiated settlement. There are consequences for saying no. If the problem cannot be solved through a negotiated settlement, it has to be settled through the force of arms. Whether Ambazonians agree or not to join the Swiss-led process, the time has come for all liberation movements that sign on to that process to begin serious work on representing Ambazonia once negotiations open under that initiative. They should worry about building cohesion, agreeing a common position, and going forward no matter what the others opposed may feel. They should plan to negotiate as if no other Ambazonians should be at the table. They should do what Dr. Kevin Ngumne of SCAPO did in bringing the case against La République in the Gambia. The hope shown by certain Ambazonian liberation movements that the world would chase after them and beg them to come to the negotiating table is pure madness. Yes, no Ambazonian should feel forced to go into any negotiating table. Let me drop this warning here. If all Ambazonian liberation movements withdraw or refuse to be involved with the Swiss-led process, the Biya regime will not be stranded. They will revert to delegates from the Kadinatumi Anglophone General Conference and from the Social Democratic Front of Ntumfoyn. The Biya regime will happily bring in the Federalists, the Simon Monzo, the Agwo Congo, and co. These are the people Congress officials led by Representative Karen Bass and other visiting dignitaries to Cameroon meet and discuss with. La République is lucky to have so many Ambazonian liberation movements doing their job for them in rejecting the negotiated settlement. The real Father Christmas is those Ambazonian groups and leaders who have chosen to do everything to avoid the Biya regime from facing the music at the negotiating table. If you think it is crazy, you are not alone. Count me in. This is Tani Jude Agua Ozugen for Ambazonia Calling.
Ramagade, legede, oh, Rabosantala, Brosagade, Lika Brazandala, Jesus. Papa Godo, intervene for we, do for we, as you do for the Israelites. The way who they suffer, in the life so you don't forget we. Papa Godo, intervene for we. Orphans are crying, widows are crying, fatherless children are crying, the less privileged are crying. Oh, may we pray. Oh, may we pray. Oh, northwest and southwest, when I come together, may we pray. Oh, prayer is a key. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, let me pray. Oh, let me pray. Oh, let me pray.
This is the one show where your ears get to see what even your eyes cannot. Listen carefully to see clearly.
Oh, Abba, Father, bless us. Oh, Jesus Christus, guide us. Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty. So, restoration train is our freedom train.
To every country its own identity. To Ambazonia, the identity of Ambazonia, including the Takumbang of Ambazonia. As Barrister Sia Jumver reports, Takumbang is in danger of being stolen. Here is her Stop Thief paper.
Ambazonians recently observed a gross falsification, misrepresentation, impersonation, in fact, what some consider a theft of the Ambazonia women's Takumbang resource. A little while ago, a certain Miss Sylvie Bello, lobbyist and founder of Cameroon American Council, an entity whose interests are clearly not aligned with the Ambazonia quest for total and unconditional independence, made a highly publicized appearance along with a handful of other women at the U.S. Capitol. The women were all decked out in signature Takumbang white cloth and red headscarf, wielding the Cameroon green, red, yellow flag, a flag that is the ultimate symbol of the exploitation, denigration, dehumanization, brutality, and genocide perpetrated against the people of Ambazonia. While many Ambazonians expressed outrage and instantly cried foul, others claimed that there was absolutely nothing wrong with this gang of women who, by the way, I repeat, do not stand for the independence of Ambazonia, presenting themselves at the U.S. Capitol in Takumbang gear. These folks argued that the Ambazonia independence movement does not own the rights to Takumbang and that this was a harmless incident that should not ruffle anyone's feathers. To those making this argument, I say, position your cheeks very well and give yourselves solid slaps for making such a myopic and intellectually dishonest argument. What is Takumbang? And what exactly does it signify within the context of the Ambazonia liberation struggle? Takumbang is the most highly respected traditional sacred society of women in the northern zone of Ambazonia, a society of women well known for manifesting silent strength and influencing even the most dreaded and powerful traditional rulers. Takumbang made its debut on the Cameroon national political stage in the 90s. Its members boldly, fiercely, and outrightly throwing their support behind then-opposition presidential candidate Chairman John Frundi of the Social Democratic Front, a son of the Ambazonian soil. When demonstrations to manifest the desire of Ambazonians to be free from Cameroon were called in September 2017, Ambazonian women identified themselves as Takumbangs of the Ambazonian Revolution and brought Takumbang to the international stage by appearing in white cloth and red headscarf and leading the demonstrations. This emotional and blood-chilling appearance of women wielding peace plants and the Ambazonia flag and standing at the forefront of crowds of peacefully demonstrating Ambazonians was repeated on October 1st, 2017, when mammoth crowds of Ambazonians hit the streets all over the world, including the homeland, to symbolically declare the restoration of independence of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. So where and how does Ms. Bello and her group of fake Takumbang women fit into this picture? Short answer, they don't. Theirs is a half-baked attempt to hijack the identity of Ambazonian women who are genuinely fighting for the independence of Ambazonia and use this identity to further their agenda, which has nothing whatsoever to do with the struggle for total and unconditional independence of Ambazonia. The challenge for Ambazonians, especially Ambazonian women, is to vehemently denounce and crush these calculated attempts to hijack any aspect of our liberation struggle. We saw it happen with non-Ambazonians who have not experienced any loss of lives singing our battle song, "Hey, they go kill we tired." And now we see others boldly coming out dressed as Takumbangs, but certainly not telling the Takumbang story. If we do not stay alert, recognize, call out, and stop these detractors and hijackers, we just might wake up to see counterfeit Takumbangs littered all over the place, perhaps even sitting at any possible negotiation table, decked out in white and red, shouting, singing, "Woman, louder than any original Ambazonian Takumbang. We cannot and must not let this happen. This is C. Ajimbo Ambe for Ambazonia Calling.
The cracks, yeets on the beat. Mon joli bébé, tu es belle, African baby. If you do me well, I go do you well. If you do me well, I go do you well. When I hustle get galon, I go open your salon. I go take you, go come, you go see like come. Small, walk a figure, but don't mean a patron. Small, walk a figure, but don't mean a patron. I love you, my baby more.
We still have Big Mob Corner right ahead. Don't go anywhere.
Even if I enter Fungata, I go that's so common. Because of money, them say I be uncapable. As we see we so, our love will be unbreakable. Love, my baby, this one and all. Love, my baby, this one and all.
Ambazonian political leaders, a majority of them male, rarely speak out against the pervasive culture of male dominance of the Ambazonian political landscape. We asked Tanya Jude Agwa Ozugen to let us know if Ambazonian leaders think the current gender arrangements are okay, natural, or just traditional African.
A good way to answer that question is to go back to an African leader who thought and said so. Former Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi did not take kindly to being told he needed to make his cabinet more gender sensitive. Kenyan women at the International Conference on Women, which held in the Kenyan capital in 1985, recommended that women be more equitably represented in parliament. President Moi responded that God made man the head of the family, and challenging that was tantamount to criticizing God. Such a view is quite frankly embarrassing. But even more disconcerting is the fact that Ambazonian women look set to provide excuses for such behavior by commission or omission. Instead of following in the footsteps of women in the United States and elsewhere in modern democracies where women have held their own within all political establishments, Ambazonian women seem determined to replicate the women's wings of political movements. On the heels of the deal being reached authorizing the Swiss government to set up a negotiated process, there came clarion calls for women to be at the table. While on the surface such calls looked like sensitivity to perceived gender bias, they invariably reinforce such bias because they have underlying auto-exclusionary undertones. Ambazonian women are not less knowledgeable than their men to be at the negotiating table, and the lone condition for being there should be competence, not gender. The presence of women at the table should be a foregone conclusion. The only shame will be if this issue is used as a bait to exact allegiance from our precious women folk. Our women should play an assertive role in the process rather than being treated as pom-pom girls and cheerleaders touting titles like Commander-in-Chief and His Excellency. They must take the mantle of leadership because whoever gives them perceived powers calls the shots, and he may take such a power away from them when they have outgrown their political usefulness. Guess what? Women bring to this struggle everything men lack: charm, beauty, intelligence, resilience, tenacity, staying power, wit, intuition, and attention to detail, a caring for the most vulnerable, and a jealous protestation for the mission of restoration that is best served by persons not seeking self-aggrandizement or a political kingdom. That is why I cannot sign this paper without calling on Ambazonian women to man up. Sorry about that, to woman up. This is Tani Jude Agua Ozugen for Ambazonia Calling.
Drum roll, please. And welcome to our Nyamfoka of the Week segment. We don't do foolish, but when there are capital fools out there, we make it our duty to find them, and every week we crown one of them the Nyamfoka of the Week. The Back to School campaign has a way of concentrating all the Nyamfokas in one place. Here's Veronique Ntumfoyn with a rundown of the kings and queens of foolish for this week.
Winning bronze and third place finish this week is the group of unidentified armed robbers of colonial Cameroon who broke into GBHS Bali this week and made away with 30 computers. We can almost guarantee that those petty thieves in uniform who stole the computers from the children of Bali do not know how a computer works. They just want to sell the computers for the price of a candy or bonbon. Unless these idiots believed that they were stealing in order to prevent schools from resuming next month, but that would be crediting them with too much intelligence, which is why we are just crediting them with the third place finish for the crown of shame, the Nyamfoka of the Week.
Nyamfoka them all.
Finishing in the position of runners-up is a supposedly 5-star police superintendent who is seeing stars in Widikum this week. He was forced, it seems, to campaign for the resumption of schools next month. This is what the CPDM regime does. You work for them, then you must do windows. Why are we surprised? This is, most likely, the same police superintendent whose men on camera set fire to and burned down the school at Eka, Widikum. The 5-star superintendent of police with no brains is ridiculing himself, singing for his lunch and for his slave wages. He is advertising madness in the middle of Widikum market at midday on market day. The height of madness. For bringing madness to Widikum market and actually advertising it. The no-brained 5-starred superintendent is this week's runners-up for the crown of shame, the Nyamfoka of the Week.
Nyamfoka them all.
Finishing at the top of the charts and winning the trophy this week is Asheri Kilo. It is a remarkable act of kindness to provide school supplies to internally displaced children. How nice. With schools burned down, with teachers and students killed, and with students with no home to live from and return to, providing school supplies to children who do not have a school and no home. It's like visiting the emergency ward of a hospital to offer each patient a coffin. If the patients do not use the caskets immediately, they can keep them for when they kick the bucket. The supplies from Asheri Kilo included the flag of Cameroon in each bag. The flag is such a beautiful reminder to each child that this back to school nonsense is nothing but politics. It is the politics of the country hiding behind the flag and fake generosity. For revealing the politics of back to school, Asheri Kilo is this week's winner of the Crown of Shame, the Nyamfuka of the Week.
Nyamfuka them all.
This is Veronique Vetimfe for Ambazonia Calling.
Our youth demo, they can't finish. Our boys demo, they don't finish. From Manfred to Boya, from Bamenda to Southwest. No shade every day, oh, killing every day. People they die every day. Like say they been a chicken. My people lay. Prayer is the key. Oh, may we pray, oh. May we pray. Oh, may we pray. May we pray. Oh, may we pray. May we pray. Ramagade, Legade. Oh, Ramosagala, Rosagade. May we pray. Mika Razandala. Jesus. May we pray.
In a video message this week, firebrand barrister John Frusso explained for the first time that La République du Cameroun was after his life.
I have been away for about a month or so. It is because the cabal, the CPDM cabal in Yaoundé wanted to take away my life. And on my way from Paris, I had to go back to the United States, and I'm watching on the sidelines. I don't know why that regime is still standing. It's supposed to have fallen. Cameroonian people, especially Francophones, are not serious because their head of state now is a vegetable and nobody is informing them so that they can take a decision as it is given in the Constitution to do what it is necessary for that government to fall. I don't know why that government is still standing, but I come to you this day to inform you that Barrister Fru Johnson is very much alive. I am in good spirit. I am in the United States, and I'll be back. I'll be back as soon as it is clear for me to come back. Rest assured that from now on, I will not use any La République airport, but I'll be back in the homeland. My dear country people, we are in a very difficult situation right now because it is almost the end. The end because we have accepted that the Swiss should be the mediator. La République accepted from the beginning, not knowing that we will accept. And after we accept, they develop COVID, and they are now looking for other means. They want schools to start so that they can tell the United Nations, oh, things are back to normal. Well, they have up to September, and I can tell you that schools will not start. And the United Nations General Assembly is meeting in September, and if they don't get to that negotiating table, this file is going to go to the Security Council. La République is playing a dirty game. Well, I send this message to Atanganji to let him know that all the dirty game that he has been planning for La République, I will end up with nothing. Because if by September they don't get their act together and get on that negotiating table so that we can lay this thing to rest, they have to pay for it. And I want to inform my people that we are going to that negotiating table with one agenda. We are going there to have our independence and to talk about terms of separation. Oh, of course, the terms of separation are very many. But if they don't come to that table, so be it. We will have our independence from the United Nations Security Council. Thank you very much. Thank you for being there for all of us. Thank you, especially the Restoration Forces. You are the backbone of this revolution. We are doing what we're doing because you are there. If you were not there, we will not be there. Thank you very much. God bless the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Long live the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Short live the revolution.
This is a lesson that every Ambazonian should know by heart from real politics. The world won't roll over just to please the hard to satisfy in the ranks of our people. Those who choose to be spoilers will be free to do as they please.
I recognize the fact that even those I consider to be egoistic or to be selfish, I recognize the fact that the intent is good. People simply think I have the best route to BOYO, I have the shortest way, the easiest way. I recognize all that.
The search for a completely neutral country will never be successful because there is no such thing as a perfectly neutral country to serve as mediator.
We should trust in our cause that is embedded in truth and it's God ordained, and we should hope for the best while expecting challenges.
Our job is to ensure that the negotiations work for what we seek and that our leaders and negotiating team do not sign onto any deal that falls short of outright independence for our homeland. In other words, our destiny is in our hands, not in the hands of the mediator.
Where is the war in southern Cameroon? Is the war at La République? No. So who has crossed borders? La République du Cameroon. They need to ask La République du Cameroon to cease fire, because who also drew first blood? La République du Cameroon. So you can ask someone defending to stop violence.
The job of Ambazonians today is to make the Swiss-led process be the equivalent of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, whose implementation by the United Nations culminated in the independence of South Sudan in July 2011.
Comrade Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga is leading his Africa People's Liberation Movement to an Africa-wide Congress that's holding in Accra, Ghana this week. Just before we went into the weekend, one of Ghana's 3 major TV stations, Metro TV, caught up with Dr. Akwanga in Accra. This is the report that Metro TV ran in Accra.
The African People's Liberation Movement, led by Dr. Ebenezer Derrick Akwanga, is the leader of the arms wing of the freedom fighters for the liberation of Amazonians as an independent country from Cameroon. While in Accra, he stopped over at Metro TV to show their appreciation for the station's constant reportage of human rights abuses by Cameroonian soldiers against civilian population in Amazonia.
We know the strength of the media as the forearm in any system. And without the media, no matter how hard we work, we're not going anywhere. Especially the African media. I believe Africans have a better stake in our struggle than Westerners. That is my concept. So I am very, very proud to be in Ghana. I see myself as a citizen here, and I feel very, very free at home. And I want to thank you people, and I'm praying that you continue to do the good job and let other networks be able to pick up from where you people are and do something similar to what you are doing. It will be helpful.
Acting General Manager of Metro TV assured that the station will continue to expose ills of society.
For and on behalf of Metro TV and all the other people who support us in various ways, we also want to say a very big thank you for this kind gesture and for the fact that you have even been able to recognize that little things like this push the boundaries of democracy far. And this will, in essence, also make your work much, much easier in Cameroon. And then you also have a better life.
That injustice anywhere is a threat to all of us. And so it's not just only the Southern Cameroon's issue that we are dealing with. We have quite a number of people who are struggling for self-determination, that as soon as they get in here, we are the channel of choice.
Head of the political desk at Metro TV, Franco-Cameroun, shared his experiences of exposing the human rights abuses in Amazonia as part of the larger responsibility to protect minority groups in Africa.
I got a call from the US from somebody I've never met before about the crisis in the Anglophone regions within the Federation of Cameroon, and so I took an interest, did some research about it. Gradually, we made some contact. The people came down, and since then, Metro TV as a network have taken an interest in the crisis within the Anglophone regions within the Cameroon. And every opportunity that we've had, we've not just spoken to people like yourself, Dr. Kwanga. We've spoken to experts here in Ghana. The fight is not over. We are not just looking at it from the political side, but it's also become an armed conflict. Our wish is that as much as we continue to expand the conversation on the crisis, political leadership will also take it up and be able to push for a permanent solution.
Some computers were also presented to the management of Metro TV for its continuous promotion of human rights stories on the African continent.
Big Mob Corner. Jakri Day, Big Mob Day, Tory Long, na time short. Barrister Manjong Judambe na ide Big Mob Corner this week.
I tell when I say win a batting oh, small win way down the blow, all forward and backside on the show. Gary Massa the vibrate like Hamilton win. This day them, it the bite no the blow. Now the people where them be first like where the man don't turn, put knife for inside them belly. The win way it the blow, don't full up doors for IGI, so time no day. Now Comrade Sako and Comrade Chris Anu them the year bad pass all man for inside that doors where Massa Gary don't throw away and for air. Gary Massa never stop oh. He want Gary na Sako he IG now. The palava warrior. Some people say na countryman palava, no be accident. Say na IG for Siseko Ayutabe where Massa Gary they support him now. Me, I know they understand. So if Gary Massa no like Sako and Chris Anu, how that one change the fact say na this over talk for Facebook don't spoil this revolution. So man the way he don't spoil this revolution past Massa Gary. Gary Massa be don't come out talk say make them kill stranger people for Ambazonia. No be na this very Massa Gary be tell all radio and television station for this ground say now we Amba boys and girls them abduct picking them from PSS and Quen. That means say he be one make we name spoil past Boko Haram in name no be so. No be na he be talk say na Amba boys them been kill Mr. Wesco, that big preacher where he come up for Indiana for that small village for northern zone for Ambazonia where they call him say Bambui. Then for finish. No be this man say make them Gary people them, even small picking them. No be this one a crime where he bad pass money where Siseko Ayutabe or even Sako them don't tifam. As I hear the talk, the Tory way I hear, na say even Siseko Ayutabe too be get his own salary. I hear oh, people they ask say if na true say Ayutabe too be get salary, why na only way ye say Sako be get salary, he decide to call Sako say chief man. He no talk no nothing about Siseko Ayutabe or other people them like Brad or Tabenyang, na pacha or na only countryman palava. Na so this revolution don't they? If them like you, them go call you all kind name them for big book. If you hear man talk say Dr. Choayaba, sabi say na fine talk the follow. But if you hear a person call the same name say Choayaba, where you no put doctor for before. If you hear person call the name say Sakwe Kome, where you no put doctor for before. Sabi say na craze go follow. Them go cost you so te left na only one stone for kill you there. How's for this revolution the smell? Some man talk say this week na Massa Gary don't shit for a trouser. Instead for ye for go move the trouser, wash am, Massa Gary the show na dirty for a choose way throw away for another man's shirt. Ambazonia them. Una de so? Ha. Na good thing say Massa Gary no cost Siseko Ayutabe with we order come be them with them there for Isangata. Because this week be worry time no day. Siseko them be still there for hunger strike. So they can't bomb them where Massa Gary sabi throw away and for WhatsApp and Facebook. Them be fit kill man where there for hunger strike. I'm glad to say Massa Gary no attack his brother Mark Barretta. Them they like twins them way them no like each other for this palava for fake government, for diaspora. Now so Mark Barretta know the drink water since where he clean his eye. Talk say all government are 419 palava. Massa Gary never handled that one self yet. When he start talk, the drink water, like man will run marathon. Me wuna fear this revolution don't enter bad corner like S-Bend for Station Hill. With motorway no get brakes. And Massa Gary way one drive the motor, no get license for drive motor. This we revolution don't turn being a religion again. Ambazonia get na daso one God. Where he name na Siseko Ayutabe and he prophet na Massa Gary. Me wuna no tell Massa Gary say wuna hear for me oh. What wuna think my brother and my sister them? Wuna no check say if I may we give this man small time out, may take rest. Kitchen don't overhot. Make we reduce the fire. Make you no overcook chop, burn kitchen, burn house to Adam on top. This Masagari no be foolish man o. Una hear me fine. Na man we get planned from long time ago. Una remember that time wey for number 1 month for this year. Masagari be talk say if leader them for this revolution no unite, he self Masagari go take over the entire revolution. Una remember that one? Na me Editorial una say Masagari get plan o. Una shine eye. Masagari the fix na chair for he self. Man no. If some man and grumby for the revolution, that man will be Masagari. If any man play for this revolution, even Mami B, he go hear 130 slap for your face from Masagari. The sango na new sheriff inside Ambazonia. I know the talk say, na Masagari don't tell me all the tori why the talk and so. I just the langua tori, how me I take my own eye, I see am. My belly no be store. I say, tori day, na time short o. Na me, una brother for Big Mob Corner today. My name na Manjong Judambe, and I from Ambazonia Calling Way, I throw away this story so.
If we've been waiting for a train and one has stopped, inviting us to jump in for destination negotiations, we need to decide if we want to get on board or if we want to hope that another train will stop. Maybe no other train will come, maybe it will. But as Brian Curran noted, one of the errors the Palestinians committed was not boarding the train when it pulled into the station until this date. They are still waiting for another train to take them to their intended destination.
The hostage takings for ransom continue in Ambazonia, with more high-profile victims hit every passing week. This particular week there have been priests, including one of the victims, Reverend Father Eugene Kadzedze of the Catholic University of Bamenda. One question everyone asks themselves when they hear of these kidnappings is, who is behind them, who is profiting, and how can you tell that these are fake versus the true, the real Amber Boys? Here's Innocent Jar with an attempt at an answer to some of those very difficult questions.
The most gullible usual suspects did not waste any time pointing a finger of accusation at Amber Boys, accusing them of the crime. In social media postings, Father Eugene described part of his ordeal: a rough ride on a bike, trekking through dirt roads full of potter, surrender some cash before regaining freedom and failing to cough up the gun and 1 million francs CF in cash his kidnappers reportedly demanded. The story out there is that the kidnappers were Amber Boys. The story begs 1,001 questions. How did Reverend Father Eugene Kadzedze ascertain that his kidnappers were Amber Boys and not fake Amber Boys? Would Atanganji's boys tell Father Eugene that they were fake Amber Boys? Do not get me wrong, real Amber Boys have held religious officials before, but each time they have admitted to doing so. Dr. Akwanga's Sokadef admitted to holding a driver who had come to one of their camps with a priest on suspicions of the driver doubling as an undercover agent for the colonial regime in Yaoundé. Amber Boys in BOYO State recently admitted to arresting and holding the Archbishop of Bamenda, Monseigneur Cornelius Eswa, overnight for violating Ghost Town or Country Sunday. So the question is, why would real Amber Boys take Reverend Father Eugene hostage and not say so? Can Father Eugene confess as truth that those who kidnapped him do not work for New Bell prison graduate and Minister of Territorial Annihilation, Paul Atangananji? Is it not clear that the targeting of priests is meant to sully the reputation of self-defense restoration volunteers among the population, the international community, and human rights defenders? Why would anyone believe that the Biya regime is not the one leading the hostage takings, whereas they are the ones who took the students at PSS Nkwen and PSS Bafut hostage? How can anyone believe this regime after its fake Amber Boys cut off the road linking Bafoussam to Bamenda and tried but failed to get a lie to stick that it was done by real Amber Boys? Is this not the same regime that set off Mororo communities in Kambe, Wum,
and way by slaughtering and abandoning herds of their cattle and pretending that the damage had been done by Amber Boys? Has everyone not seen how the regime has tried to use that crime to stir up communal violence in those communities? Something is not in doubt. It is the fact that the Amber spirit lives and breathes in every Ambazonian, dead or alive. The regime knows it, and it can smell from a mile in the activities by the civilian population across Ambazonia to protect the true Amber Boys. As with the massacre in Pinyin, which the regime tried to justify with the claim that young girls from the village were held hostage as sex slaves in the inn, as with the cutting off of the road between Bafoussam and Bamenda, which the regime hoped would so hurt the population that would turn against their own revolution, the Biya regime is desperate to break the revolutionary bond that binds real Amber Boys to their people. As no one should ever believe that Amber Boys, who do not even know where their next meal will come from, would slaughter cows for the pleasure of it and not take the meat away to feed themselves, so too, no one should believe that Amber Boys are now targeting the very priest to whom they provide offering during Sunday service for funding and for guns. At Ambazonia Calling, we call on the bravest ragtag self-defense volunteers anywhere in the world to continue to defend themselves, our communities, vulnerable populations, freedom and independence. An international tribunal on the Cameroons will investigate these crimes in due course, and we are ready to bet top dollar here at Ambazonia Calling that the true Amber Boys will be found not guilty, while Atanganaji boys must prepare to pay the price in time served. Innocentia, Ambazonia Calling.
Since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God suffered violence. Let the violent one takes it by force. Show underground king. Boom. We the cry, about what the cry. Don't tire, about what why.
Women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. About what they crying, crying. We the crying.
Una free. Amango today inside pay, you know the free. We president on the side say all man of yay. Grand ambition, fuck that slogan, no yay. Presido, the pay jaga jaga. Una take all in the way for scatter. They need 102 students for St. address. Una select 2 Anglo-Bos, escape address. Bia, young, vision, prison. Escape who know why man show BBC they for prison. They don't tell all we then start for colors Anglo-Fools. Fuck up the government, we ain't tools. Minister for Communication, no fit talk good English. Southern Cameroon independence, that's my wish. No good third roads, no seaports, no light, no attack, no airports. President, you overget fake promises. Wait to happen for the news, you bring us diseases. But men are the cry, we are the ask why. You don't go for that chair, you know go shake, you go die.
Women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. About what they crying, crying. Be the crying. Una free me, Women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. Be the crying. Una free me.
Voice in the TV again. Voice in the Handler. Voice in the France. Voice in America.
This is Ambazonia Calling.
Because you have your army of occupation out in West Cameroon, you believe that when the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down.
And I call on all Cameroon soldiers to lay down their arms within Ambazonia and to turn their arms against the very system that has made them slaves in the land of their birth.
For more stories from around the world, go to the World Wide Web at themissionstribune.com, compassfreepress.com, and africafreedomnetwork.com.
Here is our letter to Joshua.
Dear Joshua, think of what is left. There's absolutely nothing. The French have abandoned you. The UN is about to pounce. The United States is going to hit you with sanctions. Canada is. Germany is going to double down, which leaves you with, well, nobody. The Swiss kicked you out. Geneva doesn't want you back. The Intercontinental is doing just fine without you. The world is still going round. The sun still rises. The moon is up. The stars are there for the world to conquer. And the people of Ambazonia have a whole new country to build. Thanks to His Holiness, Pharaoh Joshua. What could we have done without you? We needed a reason to be angry with your system. You gave us more than one. We needed a good reason to be able to resist your tyranny. You gave us every reason on earth. We needed a war. You gave us one. It's not time to say goodbye. Not yet. We still have those negotiations, you know. We still need to meet between the bread and sardine eaters and the Ambazozos. It's a deal. Thank you so much, Joshua, for showing to the entire world that there are two countries to this place. How else, when Michel Ndoki can get 6 months and Mancho BBC can get 13 years, and who else gets life? It's just the foreigners. It's the treatment meted out to the foreigners. The foreigners from Ambazonia, the ones who used to sing the national anthem of Nigeria, who used to raise the flag of Nigeria until they found the Ambazonian flag. Is that what you're insinuating? You were begging us to live. Ask Famindongo, he was asking us to live. He was asking us, what shall you do? Vous allez faire quoi? Here we are, telling you exactly what we can do. We can resist a monster when we see one. We can challenge a monster, Joshua. We can tell them to go to hell. And that includes their French sponsors. That includes everyone in the international community who denies our people the right to self-determination. The colonial experiment is over. The lab must be closed. The colonialists must go home. And those who sponsored them, beginning with France and the United Nations for turning a blind eye, the UK for walking away from the table, the US sponsoring resolutions that punish people for trafficking in animals when you kill our people like animals. Anyone who is not standing up for the dignity of the human people of Ambazonia, that person is working against the determined people of Ambazonia, and we never give up the people of Ambazonia. We know how to rise. Nobody has found out exactly how to put us down. Not the weapons. Not yet. Not ever. This is a march to BOYO, Joshua. You can join. As a matter of fact, you're going to need asylum. So that's a good place to come for asylum. We just may give you asylum in a jail. You remember the one in BOYO where your guards killed 7 people? Are you done yet with shocking the international community with all those pictures of cannibalism suggesting that Amber boys feed on human flesh? That stuff isn't going anywhere, Joshua. Nobody's buying it. Everybody is seeing what an evil idiot you are. I don't know what you have with priests. You have killed enough priests, enough reverend sisters, and enough bishops to just leave them alone. Please leave the priests alone. Stop taking priests hostage. Stop taking ransom from priests. Tell Atangananji to stop suggesting that Amber boys did it, because they did not. Amber boys are in church every Sunday giving offerings, helping the priests survive, helping the priests run the missions of God across Ambazonia. Our people know who has inspired this revolution. We will not go against him. We know, like the people of Israel knew when they walked out of Egypt, that there will be the crossing of the Red Sea and that there will be a long desert crossing. So we are prepared for this, Joshua. Don't think that just by holding out, you are going to wear us down. You're going to wear us out. You're going to buy time. None of that is going to work. Everything works for good for those who fear God, and you're not amongst them. From our studios here in Washington, D.C., our producer is Jeff McCoy. Our music today is from Ken Wanaku, the monk from Balikumato, William Ford, an ambassador of blessed memory, Eric Matisse on the web at soundimage.org, and Prince Ajwa Alemanji of Ajam Sonic Kitron, USA. Ambazonia Calling is a joint production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. You can find us on the web at www.themissionstribune.com, www.compassfreepress.com, and www.africafreedomnetwork.com. Next Sunday is another day. Until then, keep the spirit, keep the faith, keep up the fight for justice and independence for Ambazonia. Stay Amba strong.